Hey guys, hello everyone out there. So I was writing my journal today, and a lot of times on my channel I mainly just record my tarot videos, but today I was writing in my journal and I wanted to talk about what Spirit was giving me. And some of you may be like, oh, what's Spirit mean? Well, it can mean whatever you feel like it means. For the most part, to me, it is the higher self. It's the inner self. It's the part of us that's connected with a higher plane of existence. And it is within and throughout everything. So when I connect with that energy, I download what I feel like is coming through in the moment. And sometimes it shows in my journals. So this morning, what Divine was talking about, or what Spirit was saying, was that discernment comes with interior knowledge. Because right now there's a sea of voices that you can choose to listen to. And they're growing in number every day. And a lot of people around me are opting out. They're opting out of social media, especially because it is so overcrowded with absolute crap at times that, it's hard to know who to follow, who to listen to. There's so many opposing, and confusing messages coming from every direction. And the whole thing about guided by sight is your insight, your sight, your intuitive sight. And when you're guided by sight, you're not only guided by your intuitive sight, the sight within, but you're also guided by messages that are being given to you from the exterior. There are messages all around us that are trying to point us in a certain direction. But if we are in a certain mindset where we're just trying to alleviate discomfort and we're not really listening to our interior, then we are missing the messages that are being sent to us. Okay. And so in this discernment, that we have to develop, it doesn't just appear naturally, meaning as a child, a very young child, you may have already had this guidance and you were in touch with that guidance, but then somewhere along the way, most of us, get sort of sidetracked, rather it's through parental misguidance, or maybe, something led you astray. You got really maybe tied up in some kind of, career, or some sort of, event, or another person, or, maybe you had children and you've been, pulled into something and you feel like, God, I've lost myself somewhere along the way. And so when you look back at the sea of voices, which we're trying to find a way forward, the way forward is within. And what I mean by that is as you learn discernment, which takes you understanding yourself, who you are beyond your likes and dislikes, the understanding of what guides your choices, your ideas, your mindsets, question your avoidances, question your fears and desires and habits. And then those questions are what starts to unravel everything that you've been fed and everything that you've inherited from the people around you. And so for you to get clarity for yourself, it's about knowing yourself. And to know yourself, you have to keep going through every room inside of you, which is like a really big house with a bunch of rooms, okay? And you have to go through each part of your house on the interior and go, why is that carpet there? What did I pick those curtains? Why did I pick that fabric? What does this object mean to me? Why did I choose that vase? So just like you would do an inventory of a home, that you're trying to determine if you want to keep an object or not keep an object, the same has to happen within us. We have to go inside and we have to decide which of these objects that we want to keep, right? Like, just an example, when I was younger, I was raised by my grandparents. My mother wasn't in the picture very much, but when she did come visit, she played the piano a little bit. And so I was determined to learn how to play the piano, and I did. And I learned a lot of different songs. I didn't stay with it over the years. For various reasons, I didn't stay with it, but I still know a few songs on the piano. And I, in my late 40s, started to ask myself, did I really have a passion for piano? Or was that because I wanted my mom to choose me and take me home with her? And there were a lot of things that I did as a child and a teenager that I was doing because I wanted to influence my mother's decision to finally come take me home with her. And that could not have happened based on my situation, but I did not know that. I didn't know the dynamics of what was happening. And eventually, as an adult, I understood the story better, and I then was like, I'm faced with something here, because I created a whole self, or at least part of myself, that was geared toward pleasing somebody or making them happy in some way so that I would be chosen. And that took me examining. And the more you examine the interior, the more you'll find that it's probably not even yours. Something you believe, something that you've decided to just adopt without asking questions. There was an example of a woman, and I was told the story, and I probably have it mixed up a little, but in the story, the woman had cut the ends off of the roast and put it in the pan. And the daughter, had asked her mom, why are we cutting the ends off the pan? And she's like, I don't know, Grandma always did that. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, well, let me call Grandma. And so she calls Grandma, and she's like, hey, Mom, I was just wondering, your granddaughter was asking me why we cut the ends off the roast. And she said, oh, I cut it off because the pan was too small. And so it really she had passed down this habit or this detail in her own life, and then the mother had adopted it. And then, of course, now the granddaughter was learning that from her own mother. But the granddaughter, in her innocence, had the I guess, boldness to go, hey, why are we doing this? And sometimes we just adopt behaviors, habits, attitudes, interests based on people that we're around, and we don't ask questions of, why am I choosing this right now? What does this mean for me? So I just wanted to encourage you guys to understand that when you're studying occult knowledge, and when you're looking at tarot, when you're looking at, insight from divine or spirit, and or you've decided to start journaling with yourself, with your inner self, or what have you, there is a part of you that you have to know, because to learn discernment for what is in your highest and best interest, for you to understand that discernment, to gain that discernment, you have to get to know yourself better. Because there's a part of you that came here with a seed, okay? This interior seed. And the seed is wanting to blossom into whatever it chose to become, okay? And you might think, hey, I came to this life and I went through school, I graduated, now I'm in college, or now I went to college and now I'm in my, the second half of my life, and I've decided to, kind of throw everything away and start over. Or maybe you're still down the path, but there's questions that you have. You're feeling, I think everybody's feeling it. Everybody's feeling this, I'm off. Something's off. There's, something doesn't feel right. I don't feel satisfied. I feel empty. I feel alone. I feel lonely. I feel like, I don't have these answers that I thought I would have by now at such and such age. Or maybe you're feeling too old to understand or too young to understand. There is no too young or too old. There's just self-exploration. And that is what's going to eventually teach you on the interior and flex that muscle of discernment so that you can understand what your deepest part of you, the deepest part of you, what is that calling you toward? And the only way to know that is by actually listening to that other part of you. But if you can't get to it because it's all covered over by everything you've adopted from the outside, then you won't really even know what your authentic self is trying to get you to move toward. Or you may spend this entire life, this lifetime, kind of floundering around and feeling aimless at times. And it's like, screw it, I'm just going to Netflix and, grab a bag of popcorn and eat my Cheetos and, just chill on the couch, or maybe, I'll go to these retreats and stuff, but I'm really not getting anything from them. Like, I feel good for the weekend, and then I come home and it all collapses. And it's not that you didn't probably get a message you needed to get, but now you're at a situation where you can't feel what you felt when you were there. And when you're in an environment like that, where you're around maybe other people that are learning discernment, that's because they're going on the inside and they're asking those questions of what part of this is me and what part isn't. And sometimes learning that, you've adopted somebody else's attitudes, behaviors, ideas, and you've sort of like built your life around that is sometimes destructive, because you may have gotten with a partner that you felt was in alignment with what maybe a parental figure would have wanted for you. And now you're realizing, this isn't even the person for me. What was I thinking? And now you've got a whole person involved, or maybe children involved. It gets really complicated very fast. So nobody really wants to go down this path, because once you go down this path and you start opening that door and you really start seeing what is trying to evolve into the world, it scares the shit out of you. It's absolutely terrifying, because now you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I mean, do I really love this person, or and I'm not saying they have to be that heavy, but sometimes you're in a career and you're going, oh, well, my mom did this, and so I just thought I was supposed to do this. And now you're doing something that you're not really feeling connected to, and you don't know why, and you feel drained all the time, and you're getting body aches and pains, and you're always trying to find out what's wrong with you because you feel so tired or drained all the time. Well, have you looked on the interior? Have you looked and started asking yourself questions? Have you put a journal out in front of you and started really asking yourself, what the hell is mine and what the hell is theirs? Being authentic is hard, and sometimes it can get lonely, because whenever you step outside of the the collective mindset around you, okay, and you start to individuate and break away, you become the outsider, and then you feel this huge wall building between you and the people that you used to know, or the people that you used to associate with. And this gap that you're feeling is like because you're learning more about yourself and they are not willing to do that, or they just don't even realize how important it is. And I'm saying this now because Divine or Spirit brought this to me in my journal this morning. Here they said to look within, to search one's mind is to individuate from the collective, to break away, to become the outsider, to find that there is a huge wall between you and the others you tied yourself to. Your soul is alive with passion and guidance, but unless you become a seeker of your own treasure, you will never see the light that is guiding you. And that is that discernment that I'm talking about, is that Spirit is deeply wanting to guide you and uses the whole world around us as a huge, almost like tarot deck, if you will, to allow us to know that things are trying to call you forward. And if you're not in a discerning mind, if you're not listening because you have all this junk in the way, you're not going to be able to hear the way forward. So anyways, I hope that everyone has a pleasant evening, and we'll talk again next time.